Namaste and welcome to Yoga Basics for beginners and for everyone who wants to go a little slower and break down the practices of yoga. And today we're specifically going to focus on what's often called hip openers, but to be even more specific, it is when you're turning out your thighs at the hips. I'll show you standing up. So this external rotation of the thighs, as well as moving the thighs away from the midline of the body, which is called abduction. And we're going to be working with postures specifically that have this in it, among other things, of course. And let's begin in one of them, which is often called easy pose. It's the translation of the Sanskrit word sukhasana. So grab 2 blocks or a pillow or a folded blanket and place, if you have the blocks, place them side by side on their lowest height like this. And come to sit on the front, towards the front edge of whatever you're sitting on, and allow your thighs to begin turning out, externally rotate, and abduct or move away from the midline of your body. And then adjust how close together your shins are crossing. You might cross them at the middle of each. This is often a milder version of this hip opening pose. Or if you're feeling really open in the hips, you might be able to splay the thighs wider apart. And then as you decide, shift your weight around the bottom of your pelvis, like you're a top that's just about to finish spinning. And see if you can more evenly distribute your weight with the front and the back of your pelvis, as well as the 2 bones at the bottom of your glutes, which are called your sitting bones on the left and right bottom sides. So as you press down more firmly and evenly, invite a lift up from the bottom of your spine all the way up through the back of your neck, back of your skull, and then let the shoulders roll a few times, forward and up, back and down, just taking a moment to check in with your body with some simple movements. Notice how you are feeling physically right now. And allow the shoulders to relax. So today I want to highlight the second limb of yoga. Remember, there are 8 limbs according to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is the comprehensive system and art of living yoga, not only the physical practice of yoga. So we integrate the other limbs into what we're practicing here, which is asana, physical postures. So in the second limb of yoga, there are 5 practices called niyamas. Niyamas means spiritual practices that you do to harmonize with your inner being, some call soul. And so one of those practices is called svadhyaya. And svadhyaya is a Sanskrit word that is often translated to mean self-study, self-study. And this can mean a wide variety of things. Taking the time to study wisdom teachings like podcasts and books from sages or philosophers, spiritual teachers, mindfulness, all of those things, yoga sutras. And it is also the study of yourself, the study of your mind, like we do in meditation when you're practicing mindfulness meditation, and observing your habits of thinking, your tendencies to react to certain things, the ways that you interpret situations in your life, like your personal narratives, the conditionings of that's held in the ego mind of what we should and shouldn't do. All of these things are emotions and how we relate to the emotions as they come and go. Studying ourselves through different angles. And so this is actually part of the practice of yoga. So I invite you today, as we're opening the hips, often that's talked about as opening up the Pandora's box sometimes of emotions that we might bury underneath the surface and choose not to acknowledge for some reason. So notice what comes up, maybe something, maybe nothing. Notice what comes up in physical sensations, in emotions, in thoughts, even how you relate to what comes up. Do you tend to look away or distract yourself when you're feeling something uncomfortable? That's really human. And do you tend to listen in and give yourself compassion when you're going through something challenging, even in the physical yoga practice? So how do we relate to what comes up? That's a big practice of svadhyaya. We're going to move through some breathing practices that help us to regulate our nervous systems and resource ourselves so that we can come to a place of calm and balanced presence. When we're going through something challenging, we can use these kinds of breathing techniques to regulate our nervous system. Because when our nervous system is in stress response, which is fight, flight, freeze, or collapse, it's difficult to get grounded and to come from a clear place and to be honest with ourselves even, and to look at things that are challenging. So by using these tools of physical postures and breath work, we have them to use to regulate ourselves so that we can ease into encountering whatever it is that is coming up. So let's begin the practice. Sitting still, I invite you to rest your left hand on the middle of your chest and the right hand on your lower belly. Let the body be still. And as you've already checked in with your physical being, begin to notice the breath just as it is. As you sense the way your body is breathing, notice how that tells you about your energy and your nervous system. Notice if there's any emotion or emotions moving through you right now. Is there anything calling your attention? And then observe your mind. Does your mind feel calm, agitated, focused, scattered? Without judging yourself or judging what you're observing, and now let's begin to deepen the breath. So in through the nose, filling up your chest, your side ribs, all the way down to your belly. Exhale through your mouth, maybe sigh it out. Take your time to let it all out, to empty. See if you can breathe in a little longer, a little deeper. Still relaxing the body as you sit tall. Open the mouth, empty it slowly like you're fogging a mirror. So creating a very gentle whispering sound to the breath. And then acknowledge anything you appreciate in this present moment. Maybe the fact that you're able to sit here and begin this practice of union between your body, breath, and mind. Is there anything that you would like to set as your intention for this practice today? A feeling tone you're reaching for, welcoming into your experience? And then call to mind somebody you might like to dedicate today's practice to, a way of sending them loving kindness. As we join our voices together to chant Om 3 times, connecting with each other and creating resonance as we share practice. So inhale a little deeper. So like we did earlier, fogging a mirror type of breath. So in through the nose, try that a couple more times, out through the mouth, where you can hear a very soft and sustained whispering sound. So we're going to continue creating that sound, but now closing the lips. So you can create that sound by gently narrowing the back of your throat. See if you can do it. And now it's even more subtle, not forceful, but very sustained and gentle. It's like you're breathing through a straw that glides down the back of the throat, all the way down to the pit of the belly, in and out through the nose. Now, as you can hear your breathing, try to lengthen the in breath as long as the out breath. So creating a feeling of balance. And this is what this breathing technique does. It helps to calm the nervous system and help the mind to focus in the present moment. It's called Ujjayi Pranayama, or victorious breathing. See if you can keep that slow, gently audible rhythm going through most of this physical yoga practice today. We're also going to use it as our metronome to pace our moving. So let's begin with that. Come down onto your back, lying down with your knees bent into your chest. We're going to warm up the hips. Take hold of your bent knees like this, and slowly, to your breath pace, as you inhale, rotate your thighs externally and abduct them from your midline. As you exhale, adduct or bring the thighs together towards the midline. Again, inhale, circle the thighs apart. Exhale, draw them together. Let's switch. Inhale in the opposite direction and exhale. And then feel free to just change it up, be more spontaneous and organic, and just feel out the different ways that your thigh bones rotate at your hip sockets. As you feel or listen to the breath, notice any sensations around your hips as well. So the hips move in many directions, right? They go front, back, left, right, inward, outward. Step your left foot on the ground, turn out your right thigh at the hip, and now to make sure you're not rotating the knee laterally or sideways, we don't want that, flex your right foot by spreading the toes back towards your right knee, and keep the knee still, but rotate from the right thigh bone at the hip, turn out the thigh, and now place the right ankle on top of your left thigh, so you're creating a figure four shape. So this is called thread the needle, but we're going to start by keeping the left foot on the ground, shoulders on the ground. Use your right palm and gently place it at the top of your inner right thigh. So it's close to your hip bone, not close to your knee. And gently press away your inner right thigh as you press downward through the back of your left hip. Notice what's coming up in sensations. Is there anything happening around the lower back? Around your right hip socket? Tune into at least 2 more slow Ujjayi breaths here. So listen to the whisper. Use that sound to bring a sense of calm to the mind, like you're listening to ocean waves rising and falling peacefully. Now, opt to stay here, left foot on the ground, pressing the right thigh away, or we're going to add more sensations possibly by lifting the left foot and threading the right hand between the thighs, using 2 hands to hold your left thigh or your left shin. See what's easier to reach. Keep flexing your right foot so you're stabilizing the right knee. And breath by breath, gently bringing left thigh closer to your belly. Nudge your inner right thigh with your right elbow or forearm so it continues to splay open. Let's tune into 3 to 5 more deep breaths. Focusing on balancing the length of the inhale with the length of the exhale. And notice how that feels physically as you do that. Notice how it affects your mental state, that balancing of the breath. This is part of Svadhyaya, We're trying things out in different postures and pranayama or breathing techniques and observing our response to it. Great. Now we're going to bring the thighs even more into turning out, external rotation. So slide the right thigh closer to the left thigh, and then take your hands to your outer feet. If that's hard to reach, take your outer shins. If that's still hard to reach, take your backs of your thighs. Keep your pelvis, shoulders, and head down, and begin to bring the thighs closer to your belly if possible, while inviting your feet to splay wider apart. This is called supine cow face pose, or in Sanskrit, Supta Gomukhasana. So notice if there's any different sensations coming up here. Maybe close the eyes, and as you listen to 3 to 5 more breaths, focus on a particular sensation you're feeling in your body. And notice within those 3 to 5 breaths if that sensation changes in any way. Now from here, uncross the legs, step your feet on the ground, and actually slide the legs straight and raise the arms overhead. Point the toes, since we've been flexing the feet quite a bit, and just reach long to both ends of your body for a couple of breaths. You might circle out your feet, circle out your hands, maybe gently turn the head. And then step your feet both on the ground. And now let's prepare to do those 2 hip openers on the second side. So from the left hip socket, rotate the left thigh externally or turn it out while flexing the left foot. So splay the toes up towards the left knee and make sure you're rotating largely from the left hip socket. Place the left ankle on your right thigh and keep the right foot on the floor. Use your left hand right on your inner left thigh, close to the hip bone, to gently press it away, the thigh that is, while you press the back of your right hip into the ground to keep you from rolling over. And relax the shoulders. Notice how this side of your hips feels in this position. Tune into the breath. And keep flexing your left foot. Now sense if there's plenty of sensations happening here. Maybe there's a little discomfort if there's tightness somewhere in the body here. You might choose to stay in this position and not go any deeper. Otherwise, if you're feeling this is a mild sensation, I want to explore something more, then use your left hand, thread it between your thighs, hold your right thigh or your right shin with 2 hands. Keep your pelvis, shoulders, and head on the floor, and begin to bring the right leg towards you as you use your left elbow or forearm to gently keep splaying your left thigh open. Remember to keep flexing the left foot. And now let's be in whichever posture you chose for 3 to 5 deep breaths, observing the sensations. Now let's move into that supine cow face pose. Cross your left thigh as close on top of your right thigh as you can. And with your hands, either catch hold of your outer feet. If that's hard to reach, outer shins. If that's hard to reach, backs of your thighs. Keep your pelvis, shoulders, and head on the ground and begin to splay open your feet apart, if that's possible, as you bring your thighs closer to your belly. Notice any sensations coming up here or shifting in any way. 3 to 5 more breaths. Uncross your legs, stretch your legs on the floor again. Raise your arms overhead, maybe point or circle out your feet. Deep breaths. Gather both knees into your chest once again, and this time rock and roll forward and back a few times so that you can eventually come all the way up to sit and bring your hands and knees to the floor in tabletop position so that we can start moving the spine in cat-cow. So spread your fingers really wide and flat. See that your index fingers are pointing straight ahead, not towards each other. And stack your shoulders right above your wrists. Then look at your knees and step your knees about 2 inches behind your hips. Shins are hips width apart. Now empty the breath and let's move as slowly as the breath. When you inhale, glide your chest forward, coiling it up into cow pose. As you exhale, contract your abdomen, rounding your back into cat pose. Keep going, 4 more cat cows. Inhale, reach the heart forward, look up, drop the shoulders back. Exhale, draw the belly in, drop the head and round. On your own, 2 to 3 more, listen to your breath. So cat cow pose in Sanskrit is called Biralasana. Biralasana. As you move through the last 1 or 2 rounds, feel your thumbs and your index fingers and try to flatten them a little more into the ground, especially the base of your thumb and index fingers. At the end of your next exhalation, tuck your toes, feet hips width apart, and bend the knees as you lift your hips as high as you can away from the hands. Pull the hips back and try to lengthen your back, relax your neck, and start to pedal your feet slowly in place. As you bend one knee generously, straighten the opposite leg and press the heel down. And then switch legs. Keep going a few more times. With your hands, imagine as though you're pushing your mat away from your feet and into the ground so that your hips and your shoulders do the opposite. They rise and lift back. Then let your head fall, relax the neck, steady your eyes on one focal point towards the feet, and listen to 2 more cycles of breath in downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. When you've emptied the next breath, walk up to the front of your mat. You may want to have blocks in front of the mat there and come into a standing forward fold, feet hips width apart, parallel to each other. Bend your knees generously. Place your blocks in front of your feet at the height that you need so that you can press the blocks firmly with your fingertips. As you inhale, stretch your spine forward parallel to the floor so that your wrists are now right under your shoulders as you are in half forward fold. Pause here a few breaths. Keep the knees at least a little bent. Tilt your weight as far forward as you can. Lift the belly into the back so you're engaging it. And look ahead of your fingertips. Draw the shoulder blades back and lengthen the back of your neck. Listen to your breath. Ardha Uttanasana is the Sanskrit name for this pose. Half forward fold. With an exhale, fold over your legs into Uttanasana, forward fold. Press down to your feet. Inhale as you sweep the arms forward and slowly rise all the way up, reaching the arms overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. Arms overhead in mountain pose. Exhale, join your hands together and slide them down the midline of your body to the middle of your chest. Hands in prayer in mountain pose, Padasana. Listen to 2 more cycles of breath as we begin flowing to the breath continuously in sun salutation C. So get into the sound of the breathing and sustaining it so that you're moving just as slowly as the inhale and as the exhale. Here we go. Inhale, sweep your arms forward and look up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow over your legs. Place your fingertips on the floor outside your heels, and inhale, step the left knee behind you, looking up, kneeling lunge. Hold your breath as you step to plank pose. Exhale as you lower knees, chest, then chin. Stick the tailbone up, look forward. Inhale as you slither forward onto your belly and coil your chest up lightly in Cobra Pose. Exhale as you tuck your toes and lift your pelvis back to downward facing dog. Inhale as you step left foot forward beside left thumb, lower right knee and gaze up. Exhale as you step right foot forward and bow. Pressing through your feet, inhale, slowly rise, reaching your arms overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands down to your heart center. Second side, inhale, sweep the arms overhead, look up, saluting the sun with gratitude. Exhale, bow over your legs. Plant your fingertips on the floor. Inhale, step your right knee behind you, kneeling lunge, look up. As you hold your breath, step to plank pose. Exhale, lower knees, chest, then chin. Hug the elbows to your ribs, draw the shoulders back. Inhale, slide forward on the ground in Cobra Pose. Press down through the tops of your feet. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift the hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot forward beside right thumb, lower left knee and look up. Exhale, step left foot forward and bow. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands at your heart center. Pause for 2 breaths. Notice how you're feeling in your body right now. And when I say how you're feeling, veer away from labeling it as good, bad. Instead, just be in the sensations. Notice where those sensations are. Feel the breath, feel your energy. And then take your 2 blocks with you and please turn to face the wide width of your mat, stepping or jumping your feet about as wide apart as you can splay your hands apart. Place the blocks on their tallest height behind your calves. Now start with your feet parallel to each other. I'm not going to mirror you, so make sure you're paying attention to your own body here. Touch your right hip, and at your right hip socket, rotate the entire leg from the hip to turn out 90 degrees to face the short edge of your mat. Touch your left hip and turn in the left leg 45 degrees to face the same short edge of the mat. Now align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Open the arms wide so your wrists are stacking just above your ankles pretty much, and bend your right knee until it stacks directly on top of your right ankle. You might adjust your stance to make sure you're not over bending the knee in front of the ankle. Now, notice the breath as you're doing this. Keep that slow rhythm going. Touch your right glute and encourage your right outer hip to rotate underneath your body enough so that as you're looking at your right kneecap, it turns out to point towards your right pinky toe. Now, as you do that, touch the front top of your left thigh and press that top left thigh bone back. These are 2 opposite actions. The right outer hip rotating under your body and the top of your left thigh pressing back. They create a more balanced, upright pelvis in Warrior Two so that your spine can be most upright and the breath can fully flow. Reopen the arms and relax the shoulders down. Steady your eyes on one focal point just past your right fingertips, and let's listen to 3 last even breaths with the body still. Straighten the right leg and shorten your stance 2 to 3 inches. Keep the orientation of your legs, heel to arch. Now let's prepare for triangle pose. With the legs straight, press evenly down through both feet and glide your pelvis sideways towards the opposite short edge of your mat, the one that your left heel is pointing at. So your torso lengthens towards the short edge of your mat that your toes are pointing at. And then place the right hand down on your right thigh, or take the block and place the block right up against your outer right shin. So it's touching your leg. With your right fingertips just lightly on the block. You're not collapsing the weight into that right hand. You're rooting down to lift up from it. Raise the left arm up and begin to spin your chest slightly to face the sky. If it feels okay on your neck, look up towards your left thumb. If it doesn't, choose a gazing point that does feel okay as you relax your shoulders away from the neck. Steady your gaze for about 3 more breaths in triangle pose, or Trikonasana in Sanskrit. Pressing down to your feet, inhale, rise up. Let's keep this wide stance and parallel the feet again. Come back to neutral so we can switch sides. Touch your left hip and rotate the entire leg from the left hip socket externally 90 degrees towards the opposite short edge of the mat. Touch your right hip and turn it in 45 degrees. Now align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot. Open the arms so the wrists are just above your ankles, and bend your left knee until it stacks directly on top of your left heel. Bring your left hand to your left glute and rotate your left outer hip beneath you, watching the left kneecap so that it opens out towards the left pinky toe without moving your foot. Keep the foot still. And touch the top of your right thigh bone. Press the top of the right thigh bone back. Lengthen the spine, open the arms, and then set your gaze just past your left hand for 3 more breaths in Warrior 2, or in Sanskrit, Virabhadrasana 2. Straighten your left leg and shorten your stance 2 to 3 inches. So that shortening of the stance just gives a little more ease and stability. Evenly press down through both feet. Keep the same orientation. Glide your pelvis sideways towards the opposite short edge of your mat. As you reach your left hand past your left knee, lengthen the torso forward, and either place left hand on left thigh. Notice I'm not pushing the kneecap. Or take the block and place it just to the left side of your left shin, right against the leg, and come up high on the fingertips. You can adjust the height of the block as you need. Remember, you don't want to put all your weight down on that left hand. You want to lightly press down so you can lift up. Turn your chest slightly to face the sky, and then choose one focal point to gaze at for another 3 even breaths in triangle pose, Trikonasana. Press to your feet, inhale, slowly rise up, and parallel your feet once again. Heel toe your feet closer together until your feet touch. So triangle pose, Warrior 2, all have that turning out of the thigh and that abduction in the front leg. So does, guess what we practiced last week, that balancing posture, tree pose. So let's bring that here. Join your hands together at your heart. Press down through the 4 corners of each foot and steady your eyes on one focal point ahead. As you stand tall, wake up the belly, draw the navel in and up. Listen to your breath. Focus on balancing inhale and exhale again. So before we start to challenge the body to balance, have that feeling of balance internally already. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Again, I'm not mirroring you, so feel your left foot on the floor. And from your right hip socket, turn out your right thigh at the hip. Begin by keeping the right toes on the floor and pressing the right heel against your inner left ankle. Press the ankle against the foot and stand up a little taller. Relax the shoulders. Notice how stable this version of the pose feels for you. If it's a bit challenging, stay here. You don't need to go anymore. If it's really stable, you might slide the right foot up to your inner calf if you want to make it more challenging. As you bring the right foot higher, you might even place it on your inner thigh. Continue to roll that right sitting bone that we touched in Warrior Two downward towards your inner left heel. So you're turning out the right thigh and then lifting up through the inseam of your left leg, up your spine. If your balance feels really stable and you want to play with challenging it a little more, you can raise your arms overhead. Join the hands in prayer or open the arms apart. Last 3 breaths in Vrikshasana, tree pose. Join your hands at your heart center and step your right foot down. Shift your weight onto your right foot. From your left hip socket, rotate the left thigh externally and start with the left toes on the ground. Press the left heel against your inner right ankle and press the ankle against the heel. Then press the right foot into the floor and lift the energy up the center line of your body. How's the breath? Notice how your stability feels in this variation. Either choose to stay here or add on, slide the left foot higher onto your inner calf, roll the left sitting bone down towards your inner right heel, or take the ankle and place the foot on your inner thigh, press the midline of your body with both legs, and or raise the arms overhead, hands together or apart. Whatever version you're in, how are you relating to what's coming up for you? Whether it feels really easy to balance, whether it feels challenging, how are you relating to that? Meaning, observe your mind. Here's the practice of Svadhyaya in action, self-study. And how does it feel to relate to it in that way? Join your hands together at your heart and set your right foot next to the left. Deep breath in. Open the mouth, let it go. So we practiced quite a few hip openers. Come on down to sit, and we'll end with a heart opener, back bend, bridge pose. So take your block and place the skinniest width, hug it right between your knees and thighs firmly, and separate your feet as wide apart as your knees are. See that your feet are parallel to each other, and then come down onto your back. Bring the arms down by your sides really close, and slide your feet towards you until you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not quite. Press the backs of your shoulders into the ground and tilt your chin away from the chest. Spread your toes and press the inner and outer edges of your feet equally into the earth. Prepare to lift your hips and stay in bridge for your count of 5 or more deep breaths. When you're ready to come down, with a slow exhalation, begin to lower the upper back first. All right, so when you're ready, press the feet down, tilt the tailbone up, and lift the pelvis. Hugging the block, stretch the fronts of your thighs forward. Keep your feet still and isometrically or energetically drag the heels towards you. No visible movement. Walk the upper arms closer together under your back ribs and keep your arms straight. If your hands meet easily, you could interlace the fingers. Otherwise, don't need to. Press down with your outer upper arms and keep tilting the chin back. Invite expansive inhalation, spreading the collarbones apart, lifting the chest. Remember, at least 5 breaths, and with an exhale, slowly come down. Bridge pose in Sanskrit is called Setubandha Sarvangasana. Once you've lowered, pause, put the block aside, Then bend the right knee into your chest, slide the left leg forward. Let's prepare for a twist. Scoot your pelvis another 3 inches to the right edge of your mat. Open your right arm out to the right, ground the shoulder, look towards it, and begin to cross your right thigh over your body to the left for about 5 slow breaths. Only go as far to the left as your right shoulder stays on the ground. Come back to center, slide the right leg forward, bend the left knee into your chest, then scoot your pelvis closer to the left edge of your mat. Open your left arm wide, ground the shoulder, begin to twist to your right side, 5 breaths. Rolling onto your back, bend your knees into your chest for happy baby. Splay the knees apart, catch your outer feet or outer shins, ground the back of your pelvis, shoulders and head. As you keep your feet parallel to each other, see if you might be able to draw the knees downward, closer to the ground. Lion's breath. Inhale deeply through your nose, open your mouth and eyes wide, and stick out the tongue as you exhale any sound. One more time. Inhale deeply, tongue out, let it go. Bring your hands to your outer thighs, draw your bent knees together and rock forward to sit. Stretch the legs out in front of you. Maybe take a strap and place it around the balls of your feet for seated forward fold. The strap allows you to give your shoulders more leeway so they're able to relax back and down as you're folding from the hips, keeping the throat open. So flex your feet into the strap. Inhale, lift through the center of your spine. Exhale, begin to hinge from the hips. Inhale, lengthen. Press the pelvis down, exhale, maybe go further. 3 more breaths. So seated forward fold. In Sanskrit, it's called Paschimottanasana. Press through the hips. Inhale, begin to rise up. Please find a comfortable way to sit again, and we're going to practice another breathing technique, one specifically for grounding and relaxing the nervous system. It's helpful for anxiety or stress relief or just mindfulness practice to connect in the present moment with body and mind and breath. So sit in a way that you can feel upright in the spine, relaxed. This is called box breathing or Samavriti Pranayama. We'll be breathing with the lips closed, no longer whispering sound, but deep breaths. We'll inhale through the nose for a count of 4, hold the breath in for a count of 4, exhale through the nose, a count of 4, and hold the breath out for a count of 4. As you're holding the breath, try to do so in the most relaxed way. You're not tensing the body. So check in with your body. Is it relaxed? Relax the face, sit up tall, relax the shoulders. A mudra for your hands you can place in during this breath work to help ground you even more is to connect thumb and index fingers and place the palms face down on your lap. You might close your eyes as well and steady your gaze at one spot in your body just to help focus. Let's prepare to practice 3 cycles together and 2 cycles on your own of box breathing. So empty this breath. Then inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Second cycle, inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Third cycle. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue on your own. 2 more cycles. Take your time, and when you finish, breathe naturally and observe how you feel after that. Continue to breathe naturally and gently begin to lower your body to the ground. Find a comfortable position to lie down. You may like to splay your feet apart, wider than your hips distance. Turn the palms up, down by your sides, and slide the shoulders down into the floor. Closing your eyes, keep sensing the breath without controlling the breath. And allow yourself to rest your awareness deeper and deeper inward, letting all other sounds in the background, all other stimuli externally, to recede further into the distance. We'll be here resting in stillness, Shavasana, for about 5 minutes before we sit up to practice meditation. As you rest here, notice how your body is feeling now. Feel the sensations that are alive in this moment. And then gently begin to rub your thumbs across your fingertips. Just a simple movement starting to wake up the body. Gently raise the arms overhead, keeping your eyes closed. Slowly turn over onto your right side, resting your head down. Bring awareness to the breath again and notice the way your body's breathing now. Noticing how you feel energetically. Begin to press the ground with your hands and lift your body upright to sit again. Find a comfortable way to sit upright for 1.5 minutes in meditation. Remember that meditation is a tool for seeing things more clearly. So we're observing where our attention goes, and we're also observing how we relate to where our attention goes. Like if a sound happens, are we judging the sound? Are we pushing it away? If we start to think about planning the future, how do we relate to noticing that we're planning the future? Are we judging ourselves? So noticing where our attention goes and then observing how we are relating to that as we bring ourselves back if the attention has wandered away from the present. So I invite you to begin maybe bringing the fingers and thumbs and index fingers to touch, palms face down. You might close the eyes by first resting your awareness on the breath, just breathing naturally. And you can use the breath as your anchoring point. So as you observe where your attention goes, once you're done observing that, come back to the feeling of the breath as your landing place of the present moment. In this practice of self-study, notice any patterns of where your attention goes. Notice any emotions moving through you right now and how you might be relating to any emotions. Notice how you feel mentally. You might bring your hands together in front of your heart and then take a moment to offer gratitude to anything you appreciate. Gratitude to yourself as well for showing up to your practice. Remember what your intention was for this. And remember to whom you chose to dedicate today's practice. In closing, let's join our voices chanting 3 ohms. Inhale. Bowing in, the light within me recognizes and honors the light within you. Namaste.